The Munich Security Conference of 2025 convened under a heavy cloud. The ongoing war in Ukraine, now in its third year, cast a long shadow over the proceedings. World leaders gathered in the Bavarian capital to grapple with the most pressing security challenges facing the globe. The atmosphere was tense, the stakes were high. The hope for a peaceful resolution to the conflict seemed distant. The conference served as a stark reminder of the human cost of the war. Images of devastation in Ukraine filled news feeds. The stories of refugees fleeing the violence were heartbreaking. The world watched with bated breath, hoping for a breakthrough. The question on everyone's mind: could diplomacy prevail? The presence of key figures like US Vice President J.D. Vance, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signaled a potential turning point. Former US President Donald Trump, who had initiated peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, loomed large over the discussions. His unconventional approach to foreign policy continued to shape the geopolitical landscape. The conference was not just about Ukraine. Other pressing global security issues were also on the agenda. These included the rise of artificial intelligence, the fragile ceasefire in Gaza, and the growing rivalry between the United States and China. The world was watching to see how these issues would be addressed. Trump's surprise entry into the peace negotiations had sent shockwaves through the international community. His calls for a swift resolution to the conflict were met with cautious optimism and deep skepticism in equal measure. Could Trump, known for his unpredictable nature, broker a lasting peace? Zelensky, facing immense pressure to end the bloodshed, found himself in a precarious position. He was willing to negotiate but remained steadfast in his commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, his goal secure a peace that preserved Ukraine's freedom and independence. The US stance on Ukraine's future remained a point of contention. While expressing support for Ukraine, US officials, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, had made it clear that Ukraine's NATO membership was not guaranteed. This ambiguity fueled uncertainty and raised concerns among European allies. The potential for territorial concessions was another thorny issue. While some argued that concessions were necessary for peace, others feared that it would reward Russian aggression and set a dangerous precedent. The debate over Ukraine's future was far from over. The war in Ukraine had exposed cracks in the transatlantic alliance. European leaders, feeling sidelined by the US's approach to peace talks, voiced their concerns. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius criticized the US for potentially negotiating peace without full European involvement. The issue of defense spending further strained relations. The US, led by Hegseth, urged European NATO allies to increase their defense budgets significantly. He argued that Europe needed to take on more responsibility for its own security. European leaders acknowledged the need to bolster defense but pointed to the economic challenges they faced. The COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine had taken a toll on European economies. Finding the resources for a major defense build-up would be difficult. Despite the tensions, there were also calls for unity. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, in his keynote address, emphasized the importance of transatlantic cooperation. He stressed that the challenges facing the world could only be overcome through collective action. The future of the transatlantic alliance remained uncertain. While the war in Ukraine dominated the headlines, the conference also addressed other pressing global security challenges. The rise of artificial intelligence and its implications for warfare was a key topic of discussion. The potential for AI to revolutionize warfare raised both excitement and fear. The fragile ceasefire in Gaza was another pressing concern. Trump, who had played a key role in brokering the ceasefire, threatened consequences if hostages were not released. The situation in Gaza remained volatile, a reminder of the interconnectedness of global security challenges. The conference took place against the backdrop of a shifting global order. The US remained a superpower, but its dominance was being challenged by the rise of China and other regional powers. The world was moving towards a more multipolar system. The Munich Security Conference of 2025 served as a stark reminder of the complex and interconnected challenges facing the world. It underscored the need for international cooperation and dialogue in an increasingly uncertain world. The search for peace and security continued.